Good afternoon, Flosstube. My name is Mandy. Welcome to my channel all about cross stitch. My pronouns are she, her. Today is Friday, October 11th. Seems like this month is just flying. We've been saying that for the past couple of videos, I feel like, and it just seems like the time is just flying by. It's been 2 weeks since my last video, and I've been stitching. I don't have a whole, well, I got a few things to show. I mean, I got all the things. I've got to finish, I've got to start, I've got some whips. Yeah, so I've got some stuff, but I've really been focusing on just a couple different specific projects, one of which is a new start that I am completely obsessed with. I have put it aside. It's off of the Q-snap. We'll probably work on it again soon though, because like I said, I just got completely obsessed with it and didn't want to put it down. But yeah, I hope everyone has had a good couple of weeks. If you are in certain areas, I hope you have had the best possible time that you can. My heart just completely goes out to those in North Carolina, Tennessee, South Carolina, Florida. Just these last two storms have just been horrific, and many tears have been shed over North Carolina specifically. I mean, all of it is just, you know, it's heartbreaking to see the destruction. But North Carolina specifically holds a lot of memories and a lot of special place in my heart. Big special, holds a special place in my heart, I guess grammatically. So after Hurricane Helene came through, the way I understand it, because I saw a Facebook post that kind of explained it in some terms that I understood, was that after the storm made landfall and like basically it stalled over top of like North Carolina, Tennessee, you know, some of that southern area, the storm had just stalled, so it stopped and it dropped. This post mentioned, and I don't know how you measure this, but so some of it just blows my mind. It mentioned that 40 trillion gallons of water got dumped in this area in the mountains. And it wiped out areas and just the destruction. So my grandparents lived in a community. They've both passed now. They lived in a community up in the mountains in North Carolina. This community by the name of Lake Lure. If you're not familiar with the name, you may be familiar with the fact that a couple of movies have been filmed in the area. I think most notably you can say that Dirty Dancing was filmed there. There's a particular scene where Jennifer Grey is dancing up and down these wooden steps. Those steps have been in North Carolina. I say have been because I imagine they might have been wiped out now. On Lake Lure. So like in this area there, you know, there's houses at the water edge up above water level, and so there's this set of wooden steps. Those steps have still been there up until at least Hurricane Helene. And a couple of the lake scenes from like them practicing in the lake and that were filmed on Lake Lure. The movie Dancing, Last of the Mohicans was filmed in that area. My great-grandma's house her yard was in the very, very, very beginning of Dirty Dancing. At one point, they're in the car going to the resort, and at one point in this particular scene, you just see this giant tree up in a yard, so the grassy area. That big tree was in my great-grandma's yard. So, you know, this area just has family ties. My grandparents are buried in a cemetery outside of Lake Lure, so pretty close, but away from the lake area itself. And so a little on the other side from like my grandparents and then Lake Lure, you know, you're driving through the mountains, then there's this area called Chimney Rock. It's a state park that was privately owned at one point that was sold to the state, and so a park that you can pay to go up, and so there which it's kind of pricey to have to pay to go up to it. But basically, when you get up to the top, you take an elevator, and so there's this giant rock. You can Google it. It's called Chimney Rock. So think of like a chimney that when you stand up there, I don't know if you necessarily get a full 360 point view, but at least like 3/4 of that you can just see the mountains and the lake and the houses. So what happened with this storm is because it stalled and it dropped all this rain. Before the storm came through, there was already a lot of rain in the area, so the ground was just already rain soaked. So when this massive storm came through, which was big in of itself, but then it stopped, it dropped all this rain. The rain had nowhere to go except down the mountains, thus taking out people's homes and these, the village, the businesses and roads, and it's going to take a long time for that community to rebuild. And so I've kind of gone down this, rabbit hole of all of these videos on TikTok that it hit close to home in the fact that I recognized so much of the area. I know Asheville got hit. That's a little bit of a bigger town, not exactly in the mountains, but so further west, I would say, of where Chimney Rock is at. I mean, they had standing, or not, I don't want to say standing, they had water up to like awnings on buildings, and I saw heartbreaking videos of the destruction in people's homes and such. But it is truly extraordinary in the most awful way to see how powerful water is. I don't want to bring the video down. I keep talking so much about this, but the destruction just was very heartbreaking. And so to see so many of areas that I recognized from my childhood, and more recently than that, I took a trip to North Carolina. I want to say it was 2022. So like 2 summers ago, we got to stay in what was my grandparents' house, my great-grandparents. When my great-grandma passed, one of her sons, which would be a great uncle to me, ended up with the home, and he keeps it as a secondary home, so basically a vacation house. He doesn't Airbnb it or anything like that, but basically to the family. So anybody in extended family has the ability to, hey, is the house open for this week or whatever, and we can, get to stay there. And so just 2 summers ago, it was me, my mom, my sister, and her husband went and spent a week, and it was just a getaway in the mountains. And on that trip, we drove to Asheville and hit up mainly I think we hit this used bookstore. Can't imagine what happened to that bookstore. They had so many books. I can't imagine the destruction they would have faced. And I remember hitting a pinball place or two. My sister, they love pinball. So it's like, it's places that I've spent as most recently up until 2022. So my heart breaks. My heart goes out to the folks in those communities, and I wish there was something that I could do to help rebuild. Anyways, we're here for cross stitch, not hurricane destruction. So sorry for getting into all of that. Because I know the destruction that Florida is going through as well. I know Tampa got hit really hard. So not to make light of what happened to them most recently, but what happened with Hurricane Helene just, kind of hit home. Maybe not my personal home. Things are fine here in Michigan. Like my sister says, it was kind of a piece of our homestead. Maybe not, we don't have any physical, we don't own land, although I think my mom may own a piece. Last I knew, she owned a chunk down there. You know, just family home. Grandparents and an uncle are buried in Lake Lure. And so, you know, when you see the places that you recognize going through this, yeah. 10 minutes in, let's get to the cross stitching, shall we? I do apologize for the descriptions and such. I know that wasn't, just hits home, so can't help but talk about it. Cross stitching. Get into it, shall we? I have a finish. I wasn't expecting this to necessarily get finished so quickly after my last video, but there was a challenge weekend. So one of the Facebook challenges had a Facebook groups had a challenge going on, and I was at one point I was ready to move projects, but I realized where I was at, and I was so close to a finish I couldn't put it down, and so I finished it on a Sunday. My ever after sale is done. It is not ironed by any means. We got the sun coming in. I totally didn't even think about closing my blinds because it could get really bright in here. But yes. So the whole thing is done. This was so fun to stitch. So the last block was a big one. I did have to make a color change with, so like, I think it was Princess and Happily Ever After were in the color of this outer border. Where I stitched it at, like where it landed on the material, you wouldn't have seen it. It was blending in, so, which, you know, if you think about it, the blocks, that border is really not necessarily noticeable anyways. But Leanne from Forbidden Fiber had commented, you know, that's kind of what happens with hand-dyed materials and such, that, you know, her piece may have looked fine, and had I placed it on the fabric, you know, over into the red, it may have been not been an issue. I had no problem switching it out, and I'm happy with how it turned out. I just changed the floss color. I just picked another floss from, you know, it's all Forbidden Fiber hand-dyed flosses. And so yeah. So another quote from the movie. I did see somebody else had stitched this thing. Leanne was debating what quote she wanted to put in this last block. And at the very end of the movie, it goes back to, like, so it starts with, like, basically someone giving the story of Cinderella, you know, telling the story. And it was the story of Danielle and Prince Henry. And so then at the end of, so this quote is between Danielle and Prince Henry, and then at the very end of the movie it goes back to, you know, and they lived happily ever after kind of thing. And the line is something to the effect of, you know, kind of, most importantly, they lived. And so Leanne had shared somebody's post on Instagram, I don't remember the account name, that basically added, you know, found some really pretty fonts and added below this, you know, kind of, most importantly, they lived. And it was just such a perfect touch to the piece. I wasn't going to do anything of that. I didn't want to copy someone else's idea, but I'm glad to have this piece done. Maybe one of these days I'll get it framed. I'd like to. It was a lot of work to, you know, just go into a basket, bag. I do need to get my Gilmore Girls piece done that I stitched much in the same fashion as this too. So one of these days maybe I'll get them framed. Say hi to your fans. Can you say hi to Carolyn? And who else? So many people. Say hi. I thought she was gonna meow. There we go. Okay. If you're new to my channel, that is Stitches. She's such a gem. Okay, next thing, I do have another finish. This is more of a finish for now, finish for me. I talked about being part of, in fact, I showed it in my last video, the Carolyn Manning round robin that I'm doing with 3 other gals, and I got my piece finished, so I need to get this thing in the mail so I can get it shipped off to Danielle. This was stitched on a piece of 14 count Stony Creek. I don't know the name of it. It's Megan's piece. She had misplaced the tag or something. She just remembered it being a Stony Creek, but it is a perfect orange. It is a full coverage piece. So like these spots right here with the orange, that is DMC. But it definitely blends in well. So this was such a fun piece to stitch. A little bit of a smaller piece, but I loved it. This was a very fun one to stitch. So this is going to go off to Danielle to finish off. That is my Carolyn Manning round robin. I've got one more piece to stitch for that, and then we'll be done with it. Alrighty, my next piece. That's not what I wanted. Yes, it is. I've shown this, I think, the last maybe 2 videos or so. I did get some more stitched on it. This is Astronomer's Gate by Whispering. What is that? Whispered by the Wind. Astronomer's Gate. I love this piece. This is just so unique. It is just so funny that I had this in my stash for as long as I did. Had no clue. We have a little bit of the gate. So that is all back stitched. This is stitched on a piece of 16 count Bestitch Me in Gray Magic. Beautiful, beautiful gray. So we have back stitching around the 2 crows or ravens. We've got back stitch in the gate. I decided at the moment I did want to get some of the back stitching in, because if I waited until the end, it's going to be a lot of back stitching. Because, let's see if I can do this without dropping my iPad. So, like, you know, both sides of the gate, that's all back stitch. All of that's all back stitch down into there. So this is definitely a piece that I need to do the back stitching as I go and not save it till the end, because if I did save it till the end, I'd never get it done. In fact, there's a piece that I've been meaning to pull out. I've thought about it a few times. It has not seen any light of day on this channel, but it is still technically a work in progress because it's not done yet. It is a dimensions kit that I stitched the entire thing. I think it's stitched up so quickly, if I remember right. I started working on the back stitching, got off a little bit, put it down rather than frogging and moving on. This thing hasn't seen the light of day since 2017, I'm pretty sure. So one of these days I need to get off my bum and pull out some back stitch and get it moving along. But for now, this is Astronomer's Gate in this gray. That might have been a little loud, sorry. Perfect gray material. And my next piece. This is the one that I started getting obsessed with. That is from the Cross Stitch for the Earth Emma Congdon book. This pattern caught my eye recently. A couple videos I mentioned about that I was getting some projects kitted up and all of that, and working copies made. And so this is, they don't have title names to it, but just I've been writing down never underestimate. So never underestimate the difference you make. Obsessed. So Laura's Stitching by the Shore has a Facebook challenge. You can also get it from her community tab called I Spy. And so part of that challenge, there's one about something you would see on TV. And she mentioned that Flosstube counts as seeing on TV. And so to qualify for that, it was to stitch a pattern that you see somebody else from Flosstube sharing. Well, lo and behold, she's stitching this project. So I decided to use it for the challenge. And that whole top portion is done. Oh, that material. It's the colors of the floss and the fabric. It's the smooth way it stitches up. I've been obsessed with it. Just felt stitches walk behind me. This is stitched on a piece of 16 count Bestitch Me in Luna Moth. And it's one of those colors that it's kind of bright. That sun's gonna start getting in here pretty bright, but that's pretty true to color right there. So it's one of those that's kind of bright. It's like, what am I ever gonna stitch on that? It's a beautiful color. I've almost pulled it for a few different things, but then, you know, decided to go different directions. And when I was pulling the flosses for this, so I had talked about this a couple weeks ago. A video, either a video, last video or the one before that, I had mentioned this, and I couldn't remember what color Laura was stitching hers on, and she replied, and it was a green shade. Now I don't remember what shade of green, and because it's a beautiful piece, but so I wanted something colorful like that versus just a plain white that the model was stitched on or whatever. So when I was pulling the, you know, had the flosses and was pulling the fabric, I came across this. I'm like, sold, definitely. So those trees are pink, orange, and blue. And so there's some back stitching around never. So next time I pick it up, we'll add in the word underestimate and then move on. I just feel like this thing is stitching up so quickly. That's as wide as the piece is gonna be. So it's fit perfectly in an 11-inch Q snap to be able to just stitch the whole thing across. And I love it. Alrighty, next piece. Moving pretty quickly here, I think. You've definitely been seeing this, I know, the last video. This is Mini Which Way. Why do I... If you know me, you know. Artist name. Why do I have a problem remembering that all the time? Molly Harrison? No. Yeah, Molly Harrison. Rachel Anderson. I get the two gals' names mixed up. So there's Rachel Anderson that has another kind of, so Molly Harrison. Charted by Heaven and Earth. I'm doing the mini version, and I'm getting so close to a page finish. In fact, I've got a thread still in place. I don't know where it goes, so we're just gonna leave that where it's at. Oh, I love this piece so much. So this is the bottom edge of this page. Page 5, I think it is. I am just over 40% stitched, and so I just have basically this, you know, so this is going to be around the tombstone that's right behind her. So I've just got to do around that. I've got these, so I've got a ninja stitch there, and then from here, and that page will be done. So once we get done here, I'm going to be sitting down and stitching this, so I'm really hoping to get that page finished. I don't know that it'll happen tonight. It's quite a few stitches. I don't know. The way I go, this could be a page finish tonight. If not tonight, then probably tomorrow. I am going, well, tomorrow's Saturday. I'm working a few hours tomorrow and then got somewhere to be. So I'm hoping that if not tonight, then like mid-afternoon finish tomorrow for that. I'm probably just gonna keep moving on, honestly. I'm loving this piece and I'm not ready to put it away even after I get that page finished. So this is my Mini Which Way artwork by Molly Harrison. 16 count, 2 strands, full across is the material and all of that. These background colors just get me every time. So definitely loving this piece. Not going to be a finish next year, not planning on it being a finish next year, but already being at 40%, it probably wouldn't take a whole lot of focus. Last whip to share. I think this Etsy shop has actually been taken down, or like I don't know. I feel like maybe I've seen it on a couple of different Etsy shops, so take that with what you will. Patchwork It's labeled as, like the designer is Rainbow Hunter. So I'm doing this for another I Spy challenge, needing to do something purple, and that whole middle diagonal from there, that's all purple in there. So I got a black finish. So when I picked it up just yesterday on my lunch break, well, at my morning break and then my lunch, so this kind of a magenta black was, it was on its way. I had to fill in the portion inside. This one was already done, so it's gonna switch colors to probably back to this purple to do the next block, so that's why it's not even right there. That chain will be another color. This is stitched on a 16 count. I just looked it up. Zweigert in Mystic Gray. So it's kind of a bluish, I don't know what you would call that. Put it against something white. You can see it's kind of a grayish. But this one's so fun. I love the, not monochromatic in terms of the piece, has quite a few colors on it, but each block, you know, you're just stitching one color. And so on I took my work breaks, I split up. So I do one 30-minute break and then 1 hour-long lunch, you know, in the day. And so my 30-minute break, I got 100 stitches done. And then on my lunch, I stitched again. So I got over 200 stitches yesterday on this one piece alone. So this is fun. Definitely planning on getting back to this. I've kind of taken the challenge pieces as being a, what am I saying? My lunch stitching, if I stitch on my lunch rather than a nap like I did today, I kind of taken my lunch and break stitching as doing my challenge stitching, and then in the evenings kind of picking out a bit of a focus piece. So yeah, that's my stitching. I do have some haul to share, some minimal stuff, but exciting. I am going to tie this back into stitching, but some personal stuff for the moment. I could see the Aurora Borealis last night. So the Northern Lights, goodness. I don't know how well that's showing up. It's definitely showing quite a glare. Not exactly the best pictures. This was really more of what I was seeing, the like bluish colors. But a friend had mentioned that if you turn up the saturation on the so edit, goodness, I didn't just break anything, sorry about that. It's a good thing I have a screen protector. The last time I dropped my iPad on while filming, it shattered the screen protector, which I use the tempered glass screen protectors, so I was wondering if it happened again. But basically editing the picture to add in saturation, and you could get more colors showing up. And so it was exciting. Earlier in the summer, so that's what happened with this. When I took the picture, I didn't see the pink. But when I turned up the saturation, that pink really came out. So, how this brings me back to stitching. Earlier in the summer, there were 2 different nights that they were supposed to be like seen really well in the area, and I'm seeing all these people. I tried going out, me and my friend Crystal, we tried going out, didn't see anything. We later learned after the first night that they weren't necessarily visible to the naked eye, but when you start taking pictures of the skylight, like a certain setting on the phone of taking like nighttime pictures, they started showing up. And I was seeing people from my area, like friends on Facebook in the area that live in my area, taking these gorgeous pictures, and I started getting mad. So then the next night we heard that it was still supposed to be. We went out a little earlier in the evening where the sun was actually still the sky was still lighter than they would have been visible. So we sat out there for a good while, letting it get dark. Still wasn't seeing anything. The first night I felt like I could see a tinge of a glow to the sky, but I didn't know if, you know, is it really just my eyes playing tricks on me, or is that really this, like, the sky glowing? So it was getting annoying to see these people posting pictures. We later learned, again, that they're not necessarily always visible to the naked eye, but you can take some really good pictures with it. So, weren't seeing anything or whatever. Last night, I saw a post from a local news station that said, you know, northern lights are visible tonight in the area. Let's see your pictures. I can't tell you how quickly I got up off this couch and I ran outside with my camera, with my phone, and I started taking pictures of the sky. And you've seen some of those pictures. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing these. So I quickly text Crystal. I'm like, hello, we can see the northern lights. You want to go for a drive? And so I picked her up because she lives, I live in an apartment complex. There's another complex right beside me, and she lives in the back of that complex. So she lives, you know, very close. Quarter mile maybe, because of where she's at in the complex. So I went and picked her up. She was already waiting outside. She was trying to see if she could see it. There was too many lights from her complex. So she wasn't really seeing anything. We took a drive not too far from here, is a little more like the country roads that, you know, you don't have all of the city lights. So I just kind of pulled off to the side of the road at one point and took some pictures with both of our phones, and it's just like, oh my gosh. So back in the summertime, I decided that if I can actually see these things, I want to stitch something related to the Aurora Borealis. And is it 2x2 stitch art? I know that they've got some beautiful pieces that I kept seeing on Etsy, but it's like, at that point, because of the frustrations of not seeing them the first time, but yet people in the area were seeing them so much, I didn't want to buy a pattern yet until I could say I saw the northern lights. So I saw the northern lights, and this is a 2x2 stitch art. Just a picture from the Etsy listing to see what I got. So this was sold as a 2-pack of a pattern. So I've got the nature, you know, view with the light showing and all of that kind of stuff. And then I've had my eye on this piece anyways, so I decided this thing was on sale for like less than $4 to have both of these patterns. So it's all DMC stitched on black material, and so I am so excited about stitching that. I'm most likely going to be starting this one first, and I even told Crystal I'm going to be getting materials and such together here really soon. You know that's going to be a start really soon. But I'm also really excited about stitching that one. There's something about those colors popping against that black material. I do know I have a piece of black material, so I'll be stitching. They will be stitched on black. I don't have a problem stitching on black, just not necessarily my favorite. So I bought those. And then I saw the other day, Yasmin, is it Yasmin Made with Love? Had posted that she was having, I think it was a birthday sale. This was on her website. It's called All Hallows, there we go, All Hallows Eve. That is going to be really cool. Got some skulls and pumpkins, jack-o'-lanterns, I guess. So I'm thinking kind of a moody gray with DMC 154 is what I'm thinking with this particular one. Because I have been wanting something with DMC 154. It's this purple color. I've been adding it to Lady Halloween from Jardin Privé, but I've been looking for some kind of monochromatic piece of that I can use. Sorry, I'm looking up something else here too, where I can use just that color. So I'm kind of thinking that the 154 with that like a moody gray is gonna look really cool. Why can I not find the Owl Forest shop? So that's my thoughts with that one. I haven't bought this next piece, if I can get it to even pull up in the first place. I just saw it today. Oh my gosh, is this thing going to be stunning? It is called Black Roses, and it's from Owl Forest. If you're on Instagram, you're probably already seeing this. But goodness, can you even? It's a big project, but oh, am I thinking I need to stitch this? I know Laura Stitching by the Shore already shared it on her Instagram saying, New Year, new start, anybody? I replied saying that I could be talked into that. So it's a size-wise is 209 by 436. So it's a decent sized project. But oh goodness. So I haven't purchased it yet, but I have a feeling I could definitely end up joining Laura because she's stunning. Anyways, sorry for the head down looking at that iPad. I didn't think about pulling it up beforehand. So the very last thing that I have to share is I got a quarterly gift from Deanna at Darling and Whimsy from Patreon. I have not canceled any of those kind of things yet, but I had to share the envelope itself. She included this cute little cat sticker. So the thing right here, the sticker says, "Don't move, that red dot thing is back." Gotta love cats with a red dot. And then she also had a sticker with her handsome little man, Jarvis. So this quarter we got a owl. That's not an owl, that's a ghosty. Owl Forest embroidery was still on the tip of my tongue. So sticker with her little quirky Quaker of the ghost. And a bookmark. This one is going to be so fun to use. Owl, save your place. Here's the owl. So she used her cover artwork from her quirky Quaker owl to have turned into a bookmark. She's got her logo on the back of it. So that is so cute. And then she also made a coaster, which better have my coffee. So this is a cardboard coaster. I am not going to be using this for a coaster. I don't know if I'm going to tack it into my stitching journal, or I'm going to be doing something with this that is not going to be a wet glass that is just going to get ink all over the place. So it's too cute to even put a wet glass on it to begin with. We're just going to throw it on the floor instead. Oh my goodness, this has been a long week. I'm so glad it's Friday. It's going on 6 p.m. here, Eastern time. That's about all I have to share, stitching-wise. So 4:30, I have to send this report out every day at 4:30, so I got that sent out. I was talking to somebody on Teams, so what is that, Microsoft Teams or whatever, instant chat. All of a sudden my system froze up. I'm like, why can't I type anywhere? Like, I was in the middle of typing, couldn't click anywhere or whatever, which that's happened a couple of times, and then all of a sudden, you know, my typing ends up flying because it catches up or whatever. Nope, all of a sudden it booted me back to the home page of like the main desktop of my computer. Like, well, that's weird. Let me reboot. In the process of rebooting the computer, the work computer, I'm noticing on my, because I'm texting my team lead to let her know, like, why I just disappeared. And I noticed that the Wi-Fi logo wasn't on my phone. So I'm going into the Wi-Fi settings, getting an error message trying to connect to the network. The modem is right by my desk, so I look over, all of the lights are blinking like normal. So I'm like, okay, well, let me reset that. So unplugged it for a few seconds, plugged it back in, let it, redo its thing, gets back to all of the lights working again, still won't connect. Pulled up AT&T. I just paid my bill yesterday, so I know it wasn't something of that nature. It showed no outages, but it did show me as being offline. And it showed about how to reset the modem, which was, again, unplugging it, letting it sit for 20 seconds, then plugging it back in. So I did that, let it sit a little longer. Maybe I just do quickly the first time around. Plugged it back in, waited a few minutes. We came back online that time. Because then my next step was going to be to call AT&T, and I was not looking forward to that phone call. I work from home. I need my internet. I've got, an overtime shift that I'm working tomorrow. I need my internet. So I was very thankful that that came back up. But what a way to end the Friday work week. It's a good thing I got just about all of the work done that I needed to do for the day. So we're gonna bust out a few hours tomorrow. Nice thing about working then is I won't have to deal with phone calls and emails and coworkers. Hey, do you know the answer to this question? Can you help me find this? Do you know where that's at? Can you chitter chatter and all of that kind of stuff. So we'll be able to just knock out some work for a few hours, and then we're gonna get some stitching done though, that is for darn sure. I've got some leftovers from Olive Garden for dinner tonight. We'll be heating that up in a little while. It's getting really bright in here. I've talked about it before. My apartment faces west, and so honestly, Earth is on an axis that I've been noticing over the past few years that where the sun comes into the patio door is getting further and further west. Of course, Earth twisting, rotating. So, a few months ago, this time of day, I wouldn't even be able to see anything but the sun blaring in. So I didn't even think about closing my blinds when I hit record. So now the sun is starting to get in here. So Stitches, say bye. Stitches. That is her favorite place, thanks to her Auntie Crystal. My friend Crystal gifted us this blanket, and Stitches has just completely claimed the blanket. It's not exactly blanket weather here yet. It's coming, and so I just folded it up on the back of the couch, and Stitches has to lay there. She has absolutely claimed that as her spot. So we're gonna let you go because now I'm just rambling. We're gonna go get some stitching done, and I hope you're doing well. Hope you've safe as best as you can be, that no more storms coming through that's causing more mass destruction. Again, apologies for the soliloquy of the storm damage from earlier. So keep stitching, stitch what brings you joy, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.